Scott, can you see my screen? Okay.
Might be good to have the agenda ready to share that.
Is that not what I'm sharing?
Well, I just see the active program management.
Oh, I'm sharing the wrong screen.
Okay.
I have 2 Adobe windows.
Yeah.
It says that I'm sharing this one. It says I'm sharing the right one. But I guess
Oh,
not.
there it is. There it is.
Okay, you see it now?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll just, okay, whatever.
Cool.
Hey, Emily. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
Will I be able to share my screen?
I don't, that's a good question. You see an option?
I do.
Okay, why don't you, just try it.
It says, Emily will stop sharing content as soon as
Okay.
you start sharing. Okay.
Okay. Cool.
I was going to say, because I did make a couple changes to what I had shared
Okay.
earlier.
Okay. Because, yeah, I still have your, as if worst comes to worst, I do have the other one up.
Okay. I did change it, like, so it says the right name for today, the right date. So, yeah.
Okay.
Shortened it down a little bit.
Well, we'll figure out. I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm the host now, so we'll figure
Okay.
out. We'll get you sharing one way or the other.
All right. Sounds good.
I've never hosted a meeting on WebEx before, so we'll see how this goes.
Emily?
Yes.
You shouldn't have a problem sharing your screen or having somebody else. It's almost like Zoom.
Okay.
It's just, yeah, it's an extra step. And I know that I believe it was who was it who wanted WebEx?
Our chair, Rick.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, it was him. Okay. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm just.
And the meeting is being recorded as well.
Good.
So yeah, so as soon as that gets done, I can have Tony alter it and remove the header off this. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Hey, Scott.
Hi, Colleen. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. I'm doing okay. I got my coffee. All that matters.
Absolutely.
Colleen, there's no one here today. It is wild.
I heard.
I have the whole cubicle area to myself.
Nice.
Today. I know, which is good because I'm going to be talking a lot, so I won't bother everyone. I was like, I can't move all my stuff without Colleen here.
Well, Scott told me to stay home.
Did.
Probably.
Only VIPs are allowed in the office. Emily clears that bar.
Just for today, though. After that, only on Thursdays. So Scott, the agenda is, do you see the agenda?
Yes, I do now. Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna touch it. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Emily. Can you hear me?
Can.
Yes. 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 Thank you.
Did you have to fix something or?
Oh, half the time when I get into WebEx and all the stuff that the county does, you either can't hear me or can't see me, or even if it says I'm unmuted, I'm not. So I'm sending messages to other people saying, tell them this, tell them that,
Nope. Hear you loud and clear.
which is why I sent you the report I have, because you never know.
Right.
Hey, Scott,
Hi, Mary.
congratulations.
Thank you. It's an exciting time.
It is. I've sent an email to everybody at Pace and to you and Ryan too. Maybe there's something else we can start working on earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, we can touch base again maybe next week about a way forward. Some of that.
Or after, because that's Thanksgiving week. That's going to be a
Yeah.
crazy week.
Yeah, good call.
Well, kind of crazy week, as much as you can be when you are isolated. Crazy times.
That's for sure.
Here, I'll put myself on mute.
So Emily,
Yes.
when somebody else needs to speak, if you go over and hover over their name, you can right click and you can do change role. You can make them a presenter.
Okay.
So if you want to test that with somebody else right now, then that would be great. Okay.
Change role, make presenter. Okay. And then it'll say sharing will end if you change the presenter to Jennifer, which we will not do right now, but that's how we'll go. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Hi, Rick.
Good morning, Emily. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Okay, thanks.
Good.
Yeah, thanks for sending that out.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Working from home today?
Yes, I am. So, yeah, I was downtown on Monday and Tuesday.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I hope everybody else on the call so far are doing okay. Emily, if you don't mind, when we get started, I'm going to ask you to take roll call if you wouldn't mind.
Yep, sounds good. And we'll do that for the votes, and then, but you can still, when we get to adjournment, you can just do that without a roll call.
That sounds good.
Are you comfortable with me leaving, Emily?
Yep, I think we should be good.
Okay.
Thank you, Colleen.
You're more than welcome. Good luck.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, we'll just give it a couple more minutes, everybody. See who else will be joining us. It's about 1 minute to 9, so we'll wait for about 9:02 for people to join us, and then we'll get started.
Just want to let everyone know quickly that we are recording.
Thank you, Emily. Okay, everybody, it's 9:02, so why don't we get started? I will call the McHenry County Council of Mayors meeting to order at 9:02 a.m. on November 19th, 2020. I'm not sure, is Mike Bueller, the McHenry County Chairman-elect, in this meeting?
I do not see his name.
Okay, no problem. When he does come on, we can probably towards the end of the meeting, we'll just introduce him. Just so everyone knows, he was going to try and join the meeting today, and I just want to introduce him and welcome him. So with that, meeting's called to order. So Emily, if you wouldn't mind taking roll call, I would appreciate it.
Sure thing, Rick. We're just going to go alphabetically through all of the communities. So if you hear your community called and you're here, please say your name. Algonquin, Barrington Hills, Bull Valley, Cary.
Here, Eric Morimoto.
Okay. Crystal Lake.
Here, Abby Wilgreen.
Okay, thank you. Fox River Grove. Greenwood. Harvard.
Here, Dave Nelson.
Thank you. Hebron. Holiday Hills. Huntley.
Present and Farrell.
Johnsburg.
Claudette Sofiakis is here.
Thank you. Lake in the Hills.
Lake in the Hills is here. Tom Nibbets.
Thank you. Lakemore. Lakewood. Marengo. Macomb Lake. McHenry.
Here, Troy Strange.
Thank you. Oakwood Hills. Port Barrington. Prairie Grove. Richmond. Ringwood.
Here, Rick Mack.
Thank you. Spring Grove.
I know Mark is here. I just thought I saw him.
Yeah, I saw them.
Mike Lee is here too.
Okay, both of you. I see both of you. Okay. And then Trout Valley. Union. Wonder Lake. Woodstock.
Here, Jeff Van Landen.
Thank you. And Cameron County.
Here, Jeremy Stoll.
Thanks, Jeremy. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Emily. Let the record reflect we do have a quorum. And if anyone else on this call could just let us know what agency you are with, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Mary Donner from PACE.
Kama Dobbs from CMAP.
Good morning, Lauren Platt from the Illinois Tollway, and I actually have with me Kelsey Passy, who I'm going to introduce during our agency report as well.
Katie Renteria with Metro.
John Kramer with McHenry County Conservation District.
Dennis Sackquist with McHenry County Planning and Development.
Mike Bueller, I'm Chairman-elect of McHenry County Board.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I'm glad to.
Yeah, Mike, this is Rick Mack. I just wanted to congratulate you on your election to county board chair and let you know we look forward to working with you. And anytime, maybe probably right after the first of the year, if you'd like to sit down with Scott, me, and Emily to just get down in the weeds on this program to just give you some historic perspective and let you know where we're at right now, we'd be glad to do that.
Absolutely. I look forward to that. And actually, that was part of the reason for coming here today was just so I could reach out and invite all of you to reach out to me probably just right after the first of the year. It's going to be pretty busy the first few weeks, get the transition going. But I look forward to speaking with all of you and listening to your concerns or issues and work with you the best way I can.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have everybody then? Okay, thank you. We'll get started then with the meeting. We'll go to the agenda. Any changes or announcements or motions to approve?
Tim Farrell, Hopping, motion to approve.
Okay,
Second, Eric Morimoto, Carrie.
thank you. Emily, do we want to take roll call on this or can we do a voice vote?
I think we're supposed to do a roll call, but it'll be shorter than the first one since we know who's here. So we'll start with Carrie.
Yes.
Crystal Lake.
Yes.
Harvard.
Aye.
Huntley.
Yes.
Johnsburg.
Yes.
Lake in the Hills.
Yes.
McHenry.
Yes.
Ringwood.
Yes.
Spring Grove.
Yes.
Woodstock.
Yes. Yes.
Montgomery County.
Yes.
Okay, next agenda item is the approval of the minutes of the July 23rd meeting. Any questions, comments, or motions?
Dave Nelson, make a motion to approve. Tim Farrell, Holly, second.
Okay, we have a motion second, so no questions, comments. Emily, if you please take roll call again.
Carrie.
Yes.
Crystal Lake.
Yes.
Harvard.
Aye.
Huntley.
Yes.
Johnsburg.
Yes.
Lake in the Hills.
Abstain.
McHenry.
Yes.
Ringwood.
Yes.
Spring Grove.
Yes.
Woodstock.
Abstain.
And McHenry County.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. We'll go to public comments. Is there any public in this meeting that would like to comment?
We did not receive any prior.
Okay. Let the record reflect there is no public comments. We'll go down to agency reports. IDOT Highway Report. Katie Hurtis. Okay. Paces report, Mary Donner.
Good morning, everyone. Well, you know, everything's kind of in the dumpster these days. It's just not coming back. This COVID thing again is hitting us really hard, but our budget is balanced and we aren't increasing any fares. That's pretty much the good news. I have a whole report that you can look up. In the meantime, I want you to know just a couple things that we're doing because of this. One of the things we've had to do is discontinue some service, most of which was going into Chicago with Metra, and with nobody going to Chicago, we took those routes and suspended them temporarily. 73 routes were suspended and 25 routes had modifications made to them. But in the 2021 budget, we've left those still suspended and modified until such time as maybe when there's availability of funding and a return of commuter demand, PACE may reevaluate the possible reinstatement of some service. Now, having said that, in McHenry County, rather, amazingly, nothing was affected. But locally, we're doing good things, and I'd really rather talk about those. So with the Randall Road Corridor Project, PACE and McDOT are working together to provide shelters along the stretch of the new roadway. With the board members' vote this past Tuesday, MC Ride can expand in 2021, providing service to the general public throughout the county. And we're working with McDOT on that as well. And finally, and this is the big one, McHenry County DOT and PACE are coordinating efforts to bring transit more in line with the needs outlined in the county's 2018 transit plan, using new concepts that we've learned from our updated driving innovations strategic plan. There's a detailed outline of our driving innovations initiative in the proposed budget, which you can find on our website, pacebus.com. Having said that, thank you, and now I'll answer any questions you may have. Rick?
Okay, Mary.
Okay, I noticed the other day that I was in Crystal Lake, and normally, even with COVID, I've counted 50, 75 cars, and the other day I counted 10.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to you. I can't tell you. I mean, what affects you affects us as well, but particularly with this new shutdown in Chicago, it's terrible. I'm sorry.
No, I understand. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is hitting transit very hard, and Katie's going to talk a little bit about our budget. My colleague Katie Renteria is going to talk about that, and obviously we're all hoping that we might get another infusion of federal funds to get us through what is this second wave of COVID. So sometime in mid to late 2021, we can hopefully things will start getting back to normal. So anyway, with that, thank you, Mary, and I'll go down to the Metro update, and that'll be Katie Renteria.
Hi, good morning. So like Rick mentioned, I'm going to be giving a brief update on the 2021 budget for operating capital expenses at Metro. The board approved our budget last Friday, the 13th. The operating budget is approximately $700 million. As Pace had mentioned, we are also not doing fare increases, and we don't plan to reduce service beyond the current service levels. The budget does, however, require that expenses be cut by $70 million by the end of 2021. This would need to happen if, as Rick mentioned, we don't get any sort of influx of additional federal funding. The capital budget is comprised of approximately $386 million. This includes significant investment in rail cars, locomotives, bridges, and stations. There are 5 main components in the capital side of the budget. The first being 69, almost 70 million on locomotive and car rehabs, about 61 million on all new rolling stock, 12 million on bridges, 47 million on stations. With the stations, we're looking to focus on ADA accessibility and improvements, as well as making sure that every station we operate at has at least a warming shelter. And then 34 million on new equipment and vehicles. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Katie. We will go to the next item on the agenda, the RTA update.
Hey, Rick, just so you know that I am here. Sorry, I was having computer problems.
Thank you.
So if I can go in after when everyone's done.
Sure, we'll go back up once we get down to after the CMAP report. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
RTA update. No one's here from RTA. We'll go down to the McHenry County Division of Transportation update. Ben?
Actually, Ben's not here today. This is Scott
sorry.
Hennings with the DOT. We've got two updates for you. First, I'm going to have Jeremy Stull, who's our construction manager, give a brief construction update. And then Ryan Peterson, one of our transportation planners, is going to give an update as well. So take it away, Jeremy.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate everyone letting me fill in today. Again, my name is Jeremy Stahl. I'm the construction manager with the DOT. I do see a lot of familiar faces and names, and good to see some new faces. So I'm just going to give you an update on some active construction projects, some recently completed construction projects, and just a little miscellaneous from the DOT this summer. For those of you who are probably very aware, the Randall Road reconstruction project from Acorn and Polaris to Harnish, we're about 70% complete to date. Thankfully, with the cooperating weather that week and next week, our goal is to have the remaining mainline pavement placed on northbound Randall Road before we shut down for the season. The lanes won't be open, so the current configuration that you see now with traffic moved to the southbound side, that's what it's going to remain through winter. We're looking to also continue work into December to wrap up some of the side streets, as well as various locations with sidewalks and landscaping. And then good news, Algonquin Road, the goal is to have all lanes open by the end of this season. All of that with the exclusion of the leftmost left turn lane on the Randall. For those who don't know, there's going to be triple left turn lanes. So we should have access to 2 of those 3 left turn lanes open. Goal is to be shut down sometime in December through the end of March, and then resume next spring and finish up. Some recently completed projects that we did, the county paving, we just finished this month. We resurfaced 16 miles of road over the last 6 months, including 13 miles of milling and resurfacing, a 3-mile thin lift project, and 9 miles of crack seal, totaling just a little over $7 million. Recently, we closed the Harmony Road Bridge in Riley Township over Coon Creek. We had 2 deficient beams that we needed to replace with the load posting that we had on that bridge. And in order to get that load posting removed so we can allow our county plow trucks and farm equipment across, we got those beams replaced. Work completed November 3rd, and we opened just last week. Also, another small bridge project that we just recently completed, the West Solon Road Bridge in Richmond Township. That bridge we closed last May, and before that it was down to 1 lane for a long period of time. We can proudly say that we replaced 15 out of 27 deficient beams on that bridge. The bridge has been open as of last week as well, and all traffic, or both lanes of traffic, are open, but there's still a load posting restriction just so school buses can get across. And then last update that I have is for those who drive in the area, effective October 2nd of this year, the left turn lane on Riverside Drive on the Johnsburg Road Bridge in Johnsburg is down due to a deficient beam. Right now, we just have a 50 of the turn lane open. This portion of the turn lane is not on the bridge itself, and we've adjusted the time so that we get 10 seconds of left green time to allow any of that traffic to turn on the Riverside Drive, and then allow through traffic to go. We're looking to install some permanent delineators where we have barrels placed right now over that turn lane. That should be happening pretty shortly here. And then we're just going to look to investigate what to do with the future of that structure. So I'll gladly answer any questions if anyone has any. If not, I'm going to turn it over to Ryan Peterson, our transportation planner.
Okay, Jeremy, thank you. Ryan?
Excellent. Thanks, Rick. As Jeremy mentioned, my name is Ryan Peterson. I'm a transportation planner for McHenry County DOT. I just have two quick updates for you all today. The first being, as Mary mentioned, our MC Ride Dial-A-Ride program is going countywide in 2021. We're very excited about this expansion. Most importantly, for a lot of the municipalities on the call today, is that there will be no financial contributions from our municipalities, as the county has decided to just shoulder the financial burden along with PACE and the RTA contributions for our 5310 grant. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. I'll be sending out some marketing materials, some updated brochures. So all of our municipalities and residents are up to date on the newest expansion and coverage area. The second update I want to mention is that the DOT will be holding a public meeting on December 3rd in the evening for our Lakewood Road project. We are starting phase 1 on that project, and we will be holding an informational and public meeting to kind of gather some inputs on some preferred alternatives for designs for that roadway. If you would like any further information about that, please contact myself or Emily, and we can get that to you and to your residents as well. Happy to take any questions on those two topics.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate it. Next will be the Illinois Tollway update.
Good morning, everybody. I actually, I'm not going to go through our total packet. Emily was kind enough to include it in your packets that were emailed out this morning. So I'll just hit on some of our bigger topics. First, I just wanted to update since the last time that we spoke. The Illinois Tollway is reviewing our tentative 2021 budget. This included a presentation at our board of directors meeting back in October. And that started our public comment process. A copy of the budget is posted on our website, along with a PowerPoint and webinar of the presentation, which we shared with our board of directors, and at 2 public hearings that we hosted on November 4th. We are set to approve the 2020 budget at our December meeting. Obviously, our board of directors are still meeting. They're actually meeting right now. So we are all still working from home. However, our board is continuing to meet to make sure that our construction projects are still moving forward. I always do like to give a traffic update. I know people are always interested to hear this. So early in the year, pre-COVID, the tollway toll transaction rates were up year over year. During the heart of the pandemic, transactions were off projected totals by 55 to 60% for passenger vehicles and 15 to 20 for our commercial vehicles. As of September, commercial volume has stabilized at 2020 forecasted levels, which is great, while passenger traffic is also rebounded, but is at about 80% of our projections for this year. So things are coming back, which we are grateful for, and it's great to pass along. Again, I would just point to some reform and relief that we've initiated in the form of Tolling 2020. This includes violation fines and existing notices prior to March 9th, 2020 have been reduced to $3 across the board through the end of the year to provide customers an opportunity to pay their fines at a significantly reduced rate. If anybody has any questions about our Tolling 2020 changes, I would point you to our website. We have a ton of information on there, or please feel free to reach out to myself or Emily. She's happy to find me. I don't have anything much in the construction world for my partners up in McHenry County, but Emily, if you wouldn't mind, I would just like to really quickly introduce Kelsey Passy, who has joined the tollway this week. She will be our new community relations corridor manager, so she will be attending your meetings. And if you don't mind, I would just like her to say hi to everybody. So I'll turn it over to Kelsey.
Thanks, Lauren. Hi, everyone. My name's Kelsey Passy. I was recently the planning liaison at Southwest Conference of Mayors. So I am excited to still see all of the planning liaisons and kind of get to see how the other cogs work. So like Lauren said, I will be probably your point of contact for the tollway. So I do look forward to working with all of McHenry County. And if you have any questions for me, Emily will know how to get a hold of me. So thank you for letting me take the time.
And as always, any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And like I said, Emily can always find us too. Thank you.
Lauren, thanks for the report. Kelsey, welcome. We'll look forward to working with you. Next will be IDOT STP local program update.
Gerardo is not here, I believe, but the sheets were linked in the most recent email that I sent out.
Thanks, Emily. Next will be CMAP report, Executive Council of Mayors Committee report. CMAP staff.
Great. Good morning, everyone. This is Kama from CMAP. As everyone else does, we continue to work primarily from home and are reachable by email and our office phones. Just wanted to let you know that the agency is continuing to track transportation impacts of COVID and update our response and resources web pages. So I encourage you to utilize those resources there. We've also assembled a regional economic recovery task force on behalf of the 7 county board chairs and the city of Chicago. That task force will be identifying regional strategies to support a strong economic recovery and build back a more inclusive and resilient region. You can learn more about the role of the task force on our website as well. On the SDP, CMAQ, and TAP side, I just wanted to announce that the next call for projects will open on January 8th and close on January 5th. There are no significant changes to the CMAQ and TAP programs. On the SDP shared fund side, I know I've talked about this with you several times over the summer, but new for this cycle are the bicycle and pedestrian barrier elimination projects, as well as eligibility for bicycle and pedestrian connections as part of transit station improvement projects, as well as a few other small tweaks. Additional information, including a full schedule for informational webinars and all of the application materials, will be available in early December. The other thing I just wanted to remind everyone was that IDOT did release the call for projects for the fiscal year 2022 truck access route program, the TARP program. I know Emily has probably shared that information with you, so just a reminder that those applications, which can pay for up to 50% or $900,000 per project, are due on December 18th, and that is for upgrading roads that are eligible truck routes to accommodate up to 80,000-pound truckloads. So I will keep the report short because I know Emily has been passing on many bits of information via electronic newsletter. So I'll just stop babbling and take any questions that y'all have.
Okay, thank you, Kama. We'll go back to the IDOT highway report. Katie?
Hello, sorry about that. So our annual program was published on October 6th, and the sheets reflect that now. Not much has changed, but you might see that some standard overlay projects that were previously in the 2025 multi-year program are not included in the 21-26 multi-year program. This is a result of the Transportation Asset Management Plan, the TAMP. The sections of pavement that have been removed from the multi-year program no longer qualify for rehabilitative resurfacing needs, and these projects are no longer allowed to remain in the multi-year program based on the TAMP criteria. So according to the TAMP criteria, acceptable condition for NHS marked routes is a 5.0. So these projects that have been removed are above a 5.0, but below the thresholds for pavement preservation because of the CRS or the distresses in the pavement. So they're like right in between the two, and so they can't be in the program. So the department will continue to monitor the segments and identify for future pavement rehabilitation needs once it drops below a 5.0. And then we will place it into the program. So if you have any questions about that, please let me know. So for the capital projects, Illinois 31, the ad lanes was advertised for phase 2, and the startup agreement was signed. So phase 2 should be underway. Illinois 47, phase 2 plans are underway. Illinois 47 at 176 plans are underway, and we're still waiting for some core permits and for the alignment of Pleasant Valley Road. For construction, we're finishing up the culvert at US 20 at the King County line. The roundabout at US 20 at Harmony is opened, and all that's left is the planting, and that will be done in spring 2021. The Illinois 47 bridge over Kishwaukee was let and should start early next year. The same with Marengo Beck roundabout and the improvements along that area. We're waiting, we have a big utility delay that we're having problems with right now. And then the high mast arm lighting towers that are being replaced at 14 and 31 should be complete pretty soon. And that's it, all I have today. So if you have any questions, let me know. You can email me, call me, and I'll return your call or answer your emails when I get a chance.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions? Okay, let's go to item number 5 on the agenda, and that'll be the McHenry County Sub-Regional Bike Plan presentation.
Yeah, so I'm going to quick introduce our consultant for the bike plan. I know a lot of you have heard me talk about this and probably were wondering if it was even real. It's been so long, but we're finally getting started on it. And our consultant, Jennifer, is here, and she's just going to kind of give you an overview of what we've done so far and our advisory committee meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to her. Jennifer, let me know if you're able to share your screen.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Emily, and thanks for allowing me to be here today and give you all just a quick briefing on where we're at and some of the input that we've received from the advisory committee for this great project. So just a quick introduction. My name is Jennifer Pangborn. I work for WSP. WSP is an international engineering firm, but I am based here in the Midwest, originally from Wisconsin, and I actually have visited McHenry County as a kid with, relations to my dad racing there back when I was younger. So enjoyed your county fair numerous times. And we are an engineering firm, like I said. We specialize in transportation, bicycle, and pedestrian planning for agencies. I will quickly go through a little bit of the project background, some of the engagement that we've done to date, as well as what we have planned to really gather input from county residents, talk through the vision, goals, and brand, and give you a little teaser as to what we heard from the advisory committee the other day, what we've accomplished so far in existing conditions, and the next steps. And real quickly, this is the advisory committee that we shared the presentation with the other day and got some really great input. So really well representation across the county, as well as some different agencies and organizations involved to really make sure that we're gathering good input. And then just a quick project background. As I'm sure a lot of you know, and it sounds like Emily has shared a lot already and talked about this project. The purpose of this project is to update the previous sub-regional bike plan that was finished in 1996. A lot has changed in the bicycle and pedestrian industries, from standards, guidelines, best practices, etc. So we'll be updating and using that as that foundation. And we're really focusing on engaging a wide variety of users, from families and people who like to ride on trails to our avid, bold and fearless bike riders. We want to look to increase safety for all non-motorized users, increase and make cycling a commuting option, and to identify potential projects for future funding. And just a quick recap, this project was funded with an IDOT state and planning and research grant with a match from McHenry County. And the final deliverable will include performance metrics, recommend facilities to connect different destinations in the county, include funding and grant opportunities. We'll summarize the process that we go through, because that process is so important, and we'll include a layer for the county, for Emily, and for you all to really have an asset management base for the future of bicycle and pedestrian accommodations. This is the quick schedule. We've really gotten started in the last couple months, gathering a lot of that existing conditions assessment, understanding the county, getting out on site, We met with the first advisory committee meeting. It was not today, it was Monday, my apologies. We plan to go to the public twice throughout this process, in January sometime and then in the spring. And through the process, we look to be wrapping up in August of 2021. Like I mentioned, the engagement's really important. We will be utilizing all tools in our toolkit right now, especially in the era of COVID, to make sure that we can gather input. Anything from online tools like MetroQuest, Mentimeter, using Zoom meetings, or maybe we'll be looking at WebEx after using it today. We will also be hosting a couple public meetings, multiple stakeholder meetings, focus groups, again, really trying to gather input across the county. We'll be creating and unveiling a project website probably the week after Thanksgiving, now that we kind of get an idea of what the naming for this project will be, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And then again, just to reiterate, we really want to make sure that we gather public input. We know that this could be hard in the short term. We are hoping that throughout the project timeline that we get the opportunity for some type of pop-up event, or to go to, maybe it's the county fair in August if it happens next year. Again, we really want to make sure that we're grasping input. We switching over to vision, goals, and brand. We got some really good feedback from the advisory committee the other day on creating that vision statement and giving us, what does this project mean to them. We will be sharing that with you the next time we give an update. We got some input on the project goals and some of the what should we name this project, and the importance of calling this something better than the bicycle and pedestrian sub-regional update plan, to really brand it and gather momentum for the project. And these are some of the project goals that we gathered from your previous plan, from your 2040 long range plan that I have sitting on my desk as it relates to bicycle and pedestrian facilities in McHenry County. And we gathered input from the advisory committee. We talked about, what does safety mean, thinking about all users and all abilities, connectivity, connecting all of the great destinations in the county, looking at it from an economic standpoint, to create opportunities, whether it's recreational or to create connect developments or great places in the county that can enhance people visiting and spending. Talked about the importance of health as we're talking about walking and biking, and what does that mean. Equity, thinking of making sure that these facilities are inclusive and that we're gathering outreach across the entirety of the community and the county. Design, again, best practices have changed in the last 20 years, making sure that we're really looking for the best design for the right facilities across the county. And then some of the great input that we received from the advisory committee was that maybe sustainability or sustainable, and thinking about the long-term maintenance of these facilities, should be added to the project goals. And then we did get input and feedback unanimously across input from the county and the advisory committee that safety and connectivity are the top two goals. There was, everybody agreed that these were the most important here. We also created some names and logo options, again, to really bring over ownership and momentum to this process. We got some great feedback. We shared these 4 logos with everybody and then said, okay, give us your input on what you think this project should be called. What should that logo? We can then create the website. And you are all the first to know, but everybody on the advisory committee really thought that number 1 and number 2 were their favorites, but number 1 had the most votes. So we may be changing the font slightly on this or making a couple minor tweaks, but the McHenry County Connection, a bicycle and pedestrian master plan, is what everybody gravitated towards. And then lastly, we shared some of the progress that we've done to date on existing conditions, going out, driving, walking, biking throughout the county. One of our planners in Chicago actually grew up in Crystal Lake, so as he has been, visiting family safely. He's been out taking lots of pictures and exploring the county and visiting areas he said he'd never been to. So that was really exciting. Really trying to document where our existing facilities, how are people using them currently, where are the connections, where are the destinations, and getting a really good handle across the county. We've also started to gather a lot of previous planning documents to understand what has been done, what has been looked at as it relates to bicycle and pedestrian projects. We asked the advisory committee the other day, right, what are some of the other plans or policies that we should be looking at, prioritizing, and got some really good feedback to add for research for our team. We've started to conduct a lot of baseline mapping to, again, understand the existing conditions, what's out there, what are the places around the county, where are the parks, the water features, railroad tracks, to understand, again, how to connect the county. We've been looking at land use, existing and future. My apologies, I have not updated this map, Emily. We are working on that. But again, trying to understand the places that we may be wanting to connect. Looking at some of the other transportation systems, again, some of the feedback that we heard is, starting to look at how we can connect across some of the barriers or utilizing some of the existing routes, connecting some of the existing trails, the really uniqueness of the canoe trail here and how that could be connected in better ways, how we start to connect with transit, and looking for those commuting options. And all of this, we're starting to really document, catalog to understand the existing places as we go forward into public engagement and gathering input from the residents. And we went through some great discussion questions with the advisory committee the other day to really understand what are some of the major issues, maybe barriers, constraints, and got lots of feedback. Who are the existing and target user groups? Again, who should we start to look for? I'm going to have focus group conversations. What are the key assets, destinations, and locations? Where are we trying to connect? We got some great feedback and pins that we can start to look for across the county. What are some of the gaps in the existing network? Again, where are some of those low-hanging fruit opportunities so we can start to map those out? And what are the missing connections to other modes, which is where we heard a lot of focus on trail-to-trail connection and in transit to bicycle and pedestrian facilities. And lastly, again, because we can't be in person and leaning over maps was which we love to do, we created a MetroQuest survey for the advisory committee and that Emily can share with you all. This is an online tool that we're using that has a map feature, a Google Maps feature where you can go in and put notes. You can put points, you can put lines to say, this is a missing connection. We would really like to connect here. Again, since we can't be in person, trying to really gather additional input from the advisory committee and from everybody who knows the county so well. So Emily, I'm hoping you can share that with everybody if you haven't. And we'll leave that open until Monday and be using that to really build the rest of our base for the public engagement and moving forward into some of the options and ideas. And then lastly, some of our next steps, we'll have a follow-up advisory committee meeting in January, following that with a public meeting and public survey. Again, hoping to really get a lot of input, leaning on our advisory committee and everybody to be sharing on social media or about the public survey and public meeting to drive people to the website and really build excitement. And then we'll be setting up our third public or advisory committee meeting sometime in spring as we start to identify potential projects, missing links, gaps, analysis, and et cetera, to be sharing and building further excitement for biking and walking in McHenry County. So with that, thank you. And if there are any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions? Jennifer, just more of a comment. I know the just announced that we are going to have a dedicated rail car on some of our lines. The closest one in McHenry County is the Milwaukee North Line. but this is kind of a pilot program. And I can certainly get information and share that with you. And actually, Ken Kaler, who is county on the Metro Board, has volunteered to be on the subcommittee for that, because mentioning all the bike trails and opportunities in McHenry County. So again, I know Metro would be glad to share that information with you, as well as contribute to this plan. So.
Great, that sounds fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Really, thanks to all the advisory committee members who are on this committee working hard on it. So good job. We will go then to the next item on the agenda, and that's the planning liaison contract. I want to basically summarize this for everybody.
Yeah, so it is that time of year. It's actually a little past that time of year when we need to approve my annual contract for the planning liaison position. It came a little late this year because of some, I think, issues with IDOT and other things. So normally we would be doing this before July, but we're doing it now. There hasn't been a whole lot of changes to the contract and the things that I'm required to do. The county board did pass the contract, funding the local match that is required back in, I believe, September. I've attached that for you, as well as a resolution that Rick can sign if the council approves of the contract. I can take any questions. If there are none, we'll go through and do a roll call vote.
Emily, just for the record, this is an 80-20
yes.
grant, basically, and CMAP pays 80%, McHenry County pays the 20%?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve the contract and resolution?
Motion to approve. Eric Morimoto, Carrie.
Second, Troy Strange, City of McHenry.
Thank you. Okay, Emily, roll call.
Okay, and I see that Bob is here from Algonquin, so I'll start with you.
Aye.
And Carrie?
Yes.
Crystal Lake?
Yes.
Harvard?
Yes.
Huntley?
Yes.
Johnsburg?
Yes.
Lake in the Hills?
Yes.
McHenry?
Yes.
Ringwood?
Yes.
Spring Grove?
Yes.
Woodstock?
Yes.
And McHenry County.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Next will be the item number 7, active program management policies. Emily?
Yes. This one's going to be a little bit longer. I don't know if people can see. I've pulled up the document that I sent out with all the meeting materials. Basically, when it comes to active program management, which I've been talking to a lot of you about over the past few months, there are a few things that as a council we get to kind of make some decisions on. So what I provided is kind of a broad policy category in each table, followed by what the regional policy is set by CMAP, followed by our options as a council to amend that policy, and then my recommendation. While I have a recommendation there, this is really more helpful for me to learn about what the council's priorities are when it comes to active program management, and particularly reprogramming available SDP funds. So if there's anything on here that the council would like to change, I am totally okay with that. I think most of these are pretty straightforward, but I'm going to just go through them and if there's any questions or comments, feel free to just chime in at any time. There are a couple of questions I have for you all that I'll ask when I get to those sections. I've also told Kama she can step in if I'm way off on anything or if there's anything that she would like to add. So I'm gonna run through it. The first section is program development, and the categories, call for projects. We already have our call for projects. I don't see any reason to change the schedule set forward by CMAP. Hopefully, in the next call, we'll have it, it'll be a little bit, it'll reflect better the regional schedule. I know we modified it a little bit. We didn't meet in September and things like that. So I recommend that we just stick with what CMAP has proposed there. For the active program, we could add expirations or requirements to reapply for reasons other than inactivity. Projects that are in out years can expire if there is inactivity. If the council would like to add any other requirements to reapply for any other reason, we're allowed to do that. I couldn't think of anything. So again, if anyone on the council has any ideas, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll just stick with that CMAP policy. For the contingency program, you have to reapply for the active program, each call for projects. We can opt to award points for phases that are completed or in progress. On the previous methodology, we had project readiness points. So there were points awarded for where you were in phase one, if you had design approval and things like that. I imagine that we will maintain some sort of project readiness criteria in the next methodology. As far as the points go, again, I think we'll leave that up to our methodology review committee, which I will be talking about later in this meeting. For project management, active program management training, we made it optional for everyone. We had already had it on the 9th. I have to upload the recorded training, but we've been having some website problems, so I have not done that yet. Designated project managers, everyone has to have a technical project manager and a financial project manager. That was in the applications that you all filled out. The council could require additional project managers. I can't think of any that we would want to add, but if someone has an idea, please let me know. Status updates, everyone has to submit a quarterly status update for your project. These are non-negotiable. You have to do them or you will lose your funding. The council can require them more often. It could be monthly, it could be every other month. I didn't see a reason to require them more than quarterly, but again, if anyone would like to see them be required more often, that is up to you. Obligation deadlines. So based on your March status update, for those quarterly status updates, you can request a 6-month extension. So it would basically move your obligation deadline from September to March of the following federal fiscal year. You can also request to be moved to contingency, or you can choose to proceed at your own risk if a phase is delayed. The due date, there's a due date in April for extension requests that we can set. I set it as April 15th. There's not, it basically gives us enough time to review any requests that we have. And we also, oh, sorry, this game ahead of myself. So April 15th was the date. If someone would like to see it later or earlier in the month of April, again, just let me know. When we get an extension request, we can have it be approved by just staff, by a committee, or by the full council. My recommendation with this one is that we will initially, approve it. We don't meet in April, so that would mean that any extension requests would not get approved until, mid-May or the end of May. the chair will be notified in April of any extension requests. And then we will give an update on extension requests at the May meeting, so everyone on the council is aware of what those are. We can allow extension requests later than April, just to make it easier. I don't, if we can consider them. I think that is a fair, I can't imagine there will be so many extension requests that we get so overwhelmed that, we can't handle it on a case-by-case basis. Active reprogramming, the regional policy is that it can occur at any time. We can choose to set specific dates for those requests. I couldn't see why we would do that. It gives us more flexibility if we allow that to occur at any time. We all know that programming is really dynamic and that project phases, delays happen and things can change. So keeping it as flexible as possible is really helpful for me and for you all. One thing I do want to talk a little bit more about is that there is, when we get funds available, whether it's because a project moves or because funds become, just more funds become available from CMAP, I have to know what order those things should be programmed in. Because we can use that money to handle any cost changes that your projects may have after they've been let. We can move any phases that are ready to go, but are in maybe 23, 24, or 25. We can move them up if we have the funding. We can move projects or project phases out of the contingency list and into the active program. We can also push projects back if they're delayed. So there has to be some sort of, order of operations for me to, I saw that look on your face, Eric. There has to be some sort of order of operations for me to determine what should be reprogrammed first. For example, we could have a project that has gone to letting and has high bids. And we could have a project that wants to move out of the contingency program, but maybe we only have money for one of those things. So what I want to know from the council is what would be the preferred order of operations, the preferred hierarchy for addressing those types of changes. So if anyone has any thoughts, please speak up. This one I'm going to ask you to do now.
This is Abby with Crystal Lake. How have we done it in the past?
Scott, do you?
Yeah, well, it's tough to answer that because in the past it was sort of a different system altogether, and things were a lot more loosey-goosey than they are today. Historically, though, the council placed a pretty high priority on if a project came in with a cost increase, that was something that the council often would grant. However, we were also prioritizing moving projects into the active program as well. In the past, we were able to do both of those things pretty effectively. But I think to Emily's point, with the new system as it is today, we sort of have to prioritize these now. It's more of a zero-sum game at this point. And that's why she wants the input.
Well, Scott and Emily, if you have an ongoing project are we assuming this is going to be an ongoing project that needs more cost increase that's an active project versus a project that is not active that scored high could be next in line? Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, we're kind of just talking about, like, when I talk about cost changes, I'm mostly talking about, things that have gone to letting and with high bids. So that project's already not only in the active program, but is already let. And there could be cost changes for like an engineering phase or things like that. And it's like, do we want to handle that first? And do we want to prioritize those things over, moving other projects around? Do we want to move projects out of the contingency list first? It's kind of like, do we want to have like a maximum? Do we want to use with that money? Do we want to have a maximum number of projects funded? Do we want to have, the projects that are ready to go funded? Things like that.
Yeah, I guess my comment would be is if you have a project that has the bids the bids came in high, but let's define what high is. It's not higher than 10% of the cost estimate.
Okay.
I would consider that a priority, but if for some reason the bids came in 20% or 30% over the bid, I think that project maybe needs to be rebid because it came in so high. So I would put some definition on what high is, and I would say 10% or lower, because I think we have said in the past historically that cost increases up to 10% is something we would consider, and more than likely, I think in history tells us we've approved those. And then again, if it comes in really high, like 20 or 30% over budget, then I say at that point we start looking maybe at the next project on the list that scored the highest that's on the contingency list. That would be, I guess, a comment I would have.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely something. Oh, getting a little feedback. That's something we can definitely work with CMAP to draft some language to kind of define that and put that into place.
Any other comments or thoughts?
This is Eric with Carey. I guess I would agree with what Rick mentioned, that with the cost changes, those being kind of the typical examples and things that reasonably come up. So I guess I agree that makes sense as the first hierarchy with some parameters like Rick mentioned. I guess the other three, though, for me, it seems a little bit harder to prioritize because there's so many variables with each project. The amounts, the type of project, the benefit, the realistic timelines, things like that. I guess, are there any other options in terms of taking those, maybe on a more case-by-case basis, or looking at them with details for the council to review kind of holistically, as opposed to maybe a black and white formula that may not match what the council desires?
Well, we do have to, first and foremost, we have to make sure we actually have the money for whatever is there. So that comes before any of this. This is more in the event of, okay, we have two projects that could fit in this reprogrammed amount. How do we determine which is more important? So that ultimately comes first. For the others, it's not, I guess my logic with what I suggested was obviously cost changes, they're already let or already in the active program. Prioritize those projects that are in the active program first before we prioritize the contingency, was kind of my thought. But there's arguments to be made for, whatever you want, depending on if it's, we're trying to get as many active program projects done as fast as we can. Are we trying to get as many projects in our active program as possible? Things like that.
Yeah, if that helps you, Emily, I guess then my personal approach would be to prioritize the active program projects first, with the understanding that no cost increase would go above 10%.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it does, then is it realistic to say then the council can consider that increase or consider the next project on the contingency list? Is that a way to look at it? And obviously all this depends on the available funding.
Right.
Rick, I would agree with that. Bob from Algonquin. It's still, the cost increase cannot exceed the cap, though, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So the methodology does stipulate that we have a 10% cost increase maximum. So that's still going to be in place. To Rick's question, I think, a lot depends too, if we want the council to weigh in on these decisions, a lot of that depends on our meeting schedule. And sometimes we may have projects that come up or have been let and we may not be meeting for several months as a full council. And so I think that's really where Emily would like some guidance on how she can handle these if we do in fact not have a council meeting immediately following that decision.
And Rick and Emily, this is Kama. I think another consideration in this too is readiness. So you may have a project that's programmed in an out year because you had to maintain fiscal constraint. But if that project is ready to move to obligation, you're most likely to be making these decisions in the middle of a year. And so who's ready to meet that obligation deadline? And that may be an active project, or that may be somebody on the contingency list. And so I think that, the available funding, the schedule and obligation deadlines play into this too.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point, Kama. I mean, Scott, to your point, availability and everything, I get that. We want to keep things fluid as we can, especially if projects need to get approved and move along. I'd be fine with giving the PL the power to keep the project moving forward, provided funding's available. It's within the program guidelines of not more than 10% cost increase, and it's project ready. It's moving. That type of scenario. Any other comments on that or thoughts? Is everybody okay with that scenario then?
So yeah, we'll go through and have everyone, we're going to vote and approve. But so what I'm hearing is we'll handle any cost changes provided they're within the cap and the 10% increase first. And then we'll look at the project readiness and kind of go from there. I can't imagine we're going to have so many scenarios where there's, a ton of projects trying to move around all the time. But just, this at least gives me kind of a sense of what you all want to see reprogram, how you want to see the reprogramming process go.
Yeah, let's hope we never have to use this hierarchy. Just, if we don't, that means the projects that we've awarded funding are moving forward and getting constructed in time, and they're meeting their deadlines. This is only going to be put into place if we have a project that, for whatever reason, isn't meeting their deadline. So again, let's hope we never have to use this.
Or CMAP gives us like $10 million.
That would be a good problem to have. So. Okay, anything else, Emily?
Nope, we can go ahead and take a vote if we're, oh wait, sorry. I didn't finish going through the document. Got distracted by this all. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Each call for projects is an opportunity to change schedule without need to reapply, as long as the sponsor is reaffirming their commitment by resolution or letter from an official. I believe that should be sufficient documentation. If there's any other documentation people would like to see submitted with that, again, please let me know. Carryover limitations and redistribution of unobligated funds. We have a 10% increase cap and we have a $1.5 million funding cap. So unless we change them with the next methodology, those are already set. The last one is with toll credits. Again, this has already been established and there's only a handful of communities using toll credits in our council. So we have a match rate of 90-10 when using toll credits, assuming the toll credits are approved, which they have been for this program. So that's it. That's all I have. If anyone has any last minute comments, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, we'll take a vote.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Dave Nelson, so moved.
Second?
Mike Lee, second.
Okay, Emily, if you'd like to take roll call.
I see Bob is on the phone, so I will come back to Algonquin. And I see Emily's here from Bull Valley. Okay, I'll keep moving.
I'm sorry, I had to take a call.
That's fine. Do you
So-
approve? Or?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then, Emily is in favor. Just put that in the chat. Carrie?
Yes.
Crystal Lake?
Yes.
Harvard?
Yes.
Huntley?
Yes. Did you hear me? Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Sorry.
That's okay. Johnsburg?
Yes.
Lake in the Hills?
Yes.
McHenry?
Yes.
Ringwood?
Yes.
Spring Grove?
Yes.
Woodstock?
Yes.
And McHenry County.
Yes.
All right, great.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Item number 8, local next steps and lessons learned.
All right. I know you all are not sick of me talking yet. So I'm gonna try and share my presentation. Let me switch it over. Can everyone see the presentation? Yes. Okay, great. So I took a page out of CMAP's book, and we're just gonna talk about some of the things that I learned from this STP local call for projects that happened this year. I wanna make clear that this is all from my perspective as staff. So there are things that I might talk about or suggest that you don't agree with, and that's totally okay. Anything we talk about here is not set in stone. And it won't be until we have our methodology review committee, which I'm going to talk about at the end. So bear with me and hopefully, all right, here we go. So I'm going to talk about our methodology. I'm going to provide a little reminder of what was in it. And then we're going to talk about some of the different policies and the scoring that we had. And then I'm going to talk about how some of how the projects did. Oh, thank you, Kama. I don't know how to see. Try that. Okay. Are people seeing the full screen, not the presenter? Okay, cool. I mean, you can see my notes. That's okay. And then we're going to talk about the methodology review committee, as I mentioned. Throughout it, again, I'm going to talk about possible areas of improvement. You may or may not agree with them, and that is okay. So as a reminder, our 2020 call for projects ran from January to March of 2020. Our program covers federal fiscal years 2021 through 2025. We had 26 applications from 17 municipalities. 21 of those were awarded full or partial funding. 2 of those projects were grandfathered from the previous program, and 5 projects are on our contingency list, fully or partially. Over the next 5 years, we have 17.8 million programmed in federal funds across the country, the county. I wish it was across the country. The 26 applications totaled requested 24.18 million funding. The average roadway and intersection project cost was 1.33 million, and the average resurfacing request was just under 680,000. So the previous methodology, we had 2 kind of broad project categories, roadway and intersection projects and resurfacing projects. You can see those listed on your screen. one thing that we may want to consider in the next methodology is that there was some confusion about resurfacing projects. We had put the LAFOs were allowed, but some of them ended up being categorical exclusions and other things. So we may want to clarify that in the next round. But other than that, we had no issues with the project types. But I wanted to ask if anyone thinks that there are any other project types that we should include, any that we should remove, modify, or anything like that. If not, I will just keep going. So
related to that, are there things we don't want to fund as a council that we previously did fund? That's also kind of something Emily can speak to. And I know we were pretty general in funding a lot of different types of projects, but that doesn't mean the council couldn't put restrictions on what projects they'd like to fund.
And if you don't have any ideas now and you think about it and you do, you can always let me know. And this is the type of stuff that we'll be talking about in our review committee. So we had a handful of policies that were not necessarily unique to our council, but were ones that our council decided to include as part of our guidebook and methodology. As we've talked about, we had a $1.5 million cap as well as a 10% cost increase limit. We also had a limit of 2 funded projects per community. Both of these, from my point of view, really did help spread the wealth, I guess, around a little bit. A goal of the council was to give as many communities projects as possible, and I think that these 2 policies did help do that. I think I know that there were a lot of projects that could have asked for more than 1.5 million. And there were 3 communities that submitted more than 2 project applications. So it wasn't, I wouldn't say a make or break type situation, but it did help get some of those others projects funded. For funding eligibility, we funded phase 1 engineering, 50% federal, 50% local. We did the same with phase 2. We did not fund right of way, and we funded construction at 80% federal. One thing that came up long after the programming process had taken place was that per our methodology, we were not going to grant resurfacing projects engineering money. And if you look at the program, you will see that we did do that. So that's one thing that we're going to have to modify going forward. However, we had a $300,000 cap on engineering funds per call. We didn't get anywhere close to that. Had we, then I think that resurfacing project clause would have kind of come into play more. Of the projects that requested engineering, I think 2 of them requested phase 1 and phase 2. 3 requested just phase 2 engineering. All of the projects that requested engineering were in cohorts 3 and 4, so higher need communities. And both of the resurfacing projects that requested engineering were in cohort 4 communities. So I actually feel okay having given them the funding, even though we technically were not supposed to. So also having phase 1 engineering and phase 2 engineering as eligible funding, federal funding opportunities did help us spend a little bit more money. We were able to, program some phases where had it just been construction, there's no way that that amount would have covered even a small portion of the construction costs. So we were able to just spend a little bit more of our money, which is ultimately the goal that we have. I'm not going to talk too much about the community cohorts right now because I'm going to spend a little time on those later. But we did award points for the higher need communities in cohorts 2, 3, and 4. no one seemed to have any, issues with that. I think it did help those smaller or those higher need communities ensure their projects get funded. But I don't think they had a super significant impact on the scores or the programming. So with that, does anyone have any comments about any of these things, the funding cap, the eligibility? Is there anything that people would like to see added to this? Anything that should be modified, or should we remove the funding cap? Things like that going forward. Does anyone have any thoughts on those?
Hey, Emily, it's Mark Eisenberg, Spring Grove. Just a comment for the smaller communities. Whenever we look at a project, we don't have a lot of money to start with, so engineering is a thing that we appreciate if it could be involved, because that's a cost for us smaller communities. We have to hire our engineering firms. We don't have in-house engineers, so it truly is a cost. So we would appreciate if that could be left alone or left in the project.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I think just a comment, I think limiting the communities to 2 projects had a huge impact on this last call for projects. And I think that's always a good idea I think the philosophy of this council has always been to try and spread the money out so a lot of communities can benefit from this program. Not just the large ones, not just the small ones. That's a balancing act we do. And I think that was really significant as to the success of this last program. And again, I think that's a number we could always consider and look at if we want to really have a large effect on any call for projects. The other ones, I think we're kind of just nibbling around the edges. I think that's the one that will spread the dollars out.
We had discussed earlier this year was the idea of awarding some bonus points to cities who did not receive funding during the last call, to sort of, again, try to get the communities who either didn't apply or were unsuccessful in applying, try to get them to the table at least, and get them to apply for projects, 2 years later. So I'd like to kind of hear what people thought of that idea as well.
I think the idea is a good idea. This is Mark again, once from the village of Spring Grove. Any idea like that? I mean, I don't want to be the person crying here out loud, but Rick knows this better than anybody. We just don't have funds. We don't have the resources, and to be denied a project and other communities get 2 projects, and I think that'd be great. That'd be great. And we're learning too, because we don't have the resources. We don't have a village manager. So, it's up amongst us village trustees and village presidents to figure out how this all works. So any help that you larger communities see to help the smaller communities, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, my comment to that is I think it's not a bad idea at all. I mean, I know that under the old program, a lot of years, I think we did a really good job spreading the dollars out between small communities and large communities, but we still had communities, and like in this case, this last call, Spring Groves, I'll call them the Spring Groves of the world, that still came up short. We always had a few losers, unfortunately. And I think, if we can continue to try and I don't want to water down the program for anybody, but if we can continue to make this a program that everyone can benefit while still getting really good projects funded, I think that's always a worthwhile cause. So.
I have Troy from City McHenry. I have a comment about the pavement condition rating portion of the scoring. And I don't know if other agencies have the same issue, but for us, so the optimum scoring you get as far as your existing pavement condition, for us in the City of McHenry, was a little bit of a challenge in that for a road to be in the heart of that optimum scoring category for your STP score, to recommend that road to our elected officials at the committee level as taking precedence over others, it sometimes can be a very hard sell. And I know it's about
the pavement management principles. But at times I think those are overstated because you can do a pretty heavy mill and fill after a road's reached a pretty poor condition before you've truly lost the road to the point of needing to reconstruct it. I don't know what other people's thoughts are on that, if they had the same issue.
Well, I guess if I'm understanding you right, I guess my thing is that what I liked about it is we gave a few more points to the communities that did the crack sealing and kept up with the maintenance. And rather than sometimes you look around and again, I don't take this personally, anybody who does this, but if you don't have the money to crack seal and the road tends to just kind of fall apart. And here we are in the village, I can just speak for our village. We worked really hard to spend a lot of dollars on crack sealing. It's just part of our DNA here in Ringwood. And to see a community then that doesn't take care of that road, it's falling apart, get more funds because they basically let their road go, and we've maintained our road and got kind of punished for it. I guess that's what I liked about this last call for projects, that we benefited from basically doing the right thing, I guess, rather than being punished for doing the right thing.
No, I understand. Even if you crack seal and pavement and stuff, if it's in the heart of that optimum scoring range, even with crack seal and maintenance treatments, you still may only be somewhere between 10 and 15 years into the pavement's life cycle, which is pretty early for a lot of us when it comes to resurfacing.
Sure.
This is Eric with Curie. I guess kind of building upon what Troy mentioned with the payment scoring. I was just wondering how the process is set for obtaining some of those scoring conditions. Because I think in that last round, we had noticed some of the roads that were reported and kind of used as the basis very considerably from what our consultants and our payment analysis had for those very same roads. I know it's a very subjective process, but I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, so we're actually going to talk about the scoring in a second. So, but I'll speak to that. We had CMAP's data as kind of our default, and we did allow people to submit data because there were a lot of concerns that were brought up, not just from the sponsors, but from the consultants about it being outdated or some work being done that impacted what the pavement condition score would be and things like that. So one thing that I do want to see in the next methodology is one, formalizing a process for having a more formal process for submitting that data, because I don't want to tell communities that they can't submit data, especially if it's like, well, clearly this is not correct. But being able to ensure that the data that we are using instead is fair to use against projects that are sticking with CMAP's scoring. So there's just kind of something that we're going to have to work through with the next methodology. We kind of threw it together last minute, allowing people to submit other data if they wanted to. So one thing I'd like to see is a better process for that. I think CMAP's data was from like 2018, if I remember correctly. That could be wrong. So I do see why there would be some, concern with that. And we weren't the only council to have this come up. Are there any other comments? Okay. Well, we talked about pavement condition. So I'll just start with that one first. I'm going to actually go in the order of the scoring criteria from the roadway and intersection project side, just to make it easier. But I'm going to start with pavement condition because we were talking about it. There was a lot of concern with the data. So, again, I want to hopefully have a better kind of a better method for when we submit that. We can also look at adjusting point values and other things to address these. Pavement condition was weighted way more heavily for the resurfacing projects. It was, 30%. You could be up to 30% of your points. So I see why that would be, a major concern, considering most of our projects, 16 of them were resurfacing projects. After that, we have traffic volume. That's something else that I think needs some clarification. We got different, we got traffic counts in different years. We got, sometimes it was annual average daily traffic. Sometimes it was just average daily traffic. We have on here average daily traffic, but I think IDOT's getting around Illinois might be annual average. So that's something that I want to clarify moving forward. Safety need, I didn't really have any issues with that. I didn't hear any issues with that. Same with safety improvement. And that was a roadway and intersection criteria only. For multimodal infrastructure components and its counterpart, bicycle accommodations, those are pretty straightforward. However, one thing that came up during the scoring, particularly of resurfacing projects, for the resurfacing projects, the bike accommodations criterion was 6 points, all or nothing. You either got it or you didn't. Unlike the roadway and intersection side, where you could get points for specific components. So one thing that came up was that some projects had, signage as their bicycle accommodations, and some projects had full-on multi-use paths. Those are completely different things and have completely different impacts on bicycle level of service and other, safety when biking and things like that. So that's one thing that we may want to revisit, at least on the resurfacing side. Project readiness, I think, was fairly straightforward. Community cohort. So in the next methodology, we're going to maybe have to revise this because CMAP updated their community cohorts, and almost all of our communities are in cohorts 1 and 2. There are only like a small handful that are in 3 and 4. I'm going to go over that in a minute, but that's something that we may want to look at if we choose to use, the cohorts moving forward. And then planning measures. I don't know if there's going to be different planning measures for the next methodology, or if CMAP's going to just keep the same ones. Kim, I don't know if you know.
So the planning measures that get chosen from are set in the 2017 agreement between the councils and CDOT. So those won't change unless that agreement is revised, which I wouldn't anticipate.
Excellent. Great. So that being said, almost all of you now have complete streets policies and ordinances. So, we could keep that and everyone basically gets free points at this point, which doesn't really make it quite so competitive. And I don't know that would necessarily be beneficial to our Cam is nodding no, or shake your head. But so we are going to have to look at an alternative there. And then for the green infrastructure, we did not do a very good job defining it. That was something I remember Scott and I were like having all these conversations, trying to figure out what exactly we wanted green infrastructure to mean. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of clarify that going forward, just to make it easier for everyone. We were pretty lenient on what counted as that this go around. So maybe we'll make it a little bit harder in the next one. So that was kind of a quick run through of the scoring. We talked a little bit about pavement condition. We can keep talking about pavement condition. We can talk about, point values. Is there anything that you'd like to see added? It's not every council has the same methodology. So you may have seen something from another council that you really liked. Another thing to consider is we are doing this bike plan. So, you know, incorporating those types of things. You know, does anyone have any feedback on this?
I guess, Emily, I'm sure anybody who got a project in this last round is going to say how we did it last time really worked out well. And those that didn't are going to say it's not. We got a lot of projects funded. So I guess my overall comment on this is that we take that methodology we had for the last call and we tweak it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is going to be a whole scale flip it on its head because it worked out pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of this has been a good discussion, but I think overall a lot of these details are really for the methodology.
Mm-hmm.
I think taking the starting point being our last methodology for call for projects.
Yes, that's definitely, I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel, and I don't think anyone here would want to do that either. No, I totally agree with that, Rick.
Okay.
But if there's anything else that people want to chime in before I move on to yes, Emily, I'll put that last screen up. There you go. And this is all in the, if you have a copy of the guidebook handy, this is taken a screenshot from that.
Yeah, and to Rick's point, this is the first time we're talking about some of these changes. It won't be the last. And the methodology committee, I think throughout 2021 is going to be instrumental in making those tweaks. So if you don't have comments today, that's fine. Feel free to email Emily or call her after the fact, and we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, and this comment is really for Kama. Kama, I just want to make sure that whatever CMAP's doing isn't going to put the McHenry County Council mayors in a bind as far as tying us up, so we can't stay with that basic framework we had with our last methodology and basically tweak it. I just don't, I don't want roadblocks put up with this criteria that would prevent us from basically staying with that methodology and tweaking it based on some of the comments we've heard today already.
Yeah, no, I think the methodology you have is solid and is well within the parameters that were set by the regional agreement. So we're not planning to make changes to those requirements. I think the things that Emily pointed out with, complete street scoring as a planning factor, I think you'll hear me say, if everybody's going to get the same number of points in that category, it's not a very good category to use to judge projects.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of comments we're going to have. The community cohorts list, that is policy updated every year in January, so that'll change from year to year. I'm not sure that really affects your scoring methodology as much as it's just going to affect who gets points per your methodology. So we're not looking to shake anything up. I think minor tweaking, all of the comments you made about, this system working out pretty well for this council, we agree with. So no reason for us to be encouraging you to poke any bears on this one. I think you just want to pat the bears on the head.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Emily, just one comment on, a couple people have talked about PCI, and I thought it got pretty arbitrary and subjective. If we don't find a way to do it consistently, I know CMAP, we're partnering with them to do the pavement condition assessment in our town. I don't know why we don't just say you have to call this contractor before you submit your project and have your PCI assessed within a certain period of time of being submitted for the call. And then everybody at that point is consistent.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we'll definitely have to figure out in the review committee, how that would look and how that would work. one thing we floated around in the last one was having someone from the DOT go out and look and like kind of confirm, you know, based on what he saw, and not that person is not me, to be clear, someone who actually understands pavement condition. But you know, I think basically what you said, that having some sort of uniform process for this is going to be important, because, you know, I can't, you know, if I can look at it, your submission all I want, and, you know, that doesn't mean that it's accurate, you know, and I have no real solid way of being able to tell that without involving other people, because I'm not an engineer, I'm a planner.
I agree, but every consultant, you know, whether I hire Seabell or Chastain or anybody else who does a PCI assessment, they're going to come up with a different number. And unless we do it consistently with one consultant or one service provider, then I don't think it should be considered.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Is there anything else before I move on? Okay. Just real quick, is there anything else that you've seen that you think we should be considering that we haven't talked about? Just kind of bigger picture issues. Okay. Real quick here, I'm going to try and speed this up a little bit. I'm going to just show you all how the projects scored, and we're just going to show you quick how our cohorts have changed from 2019 to 2020, so you'll have a better understanding of what that looks like. So I averaged out the points for each criterion for the roadway and intersection projects. Again, we had 10 projects total. You can see here the kind of the average points and the maximum points for each. The roadway and intersection projects across the board did pretty consistently. The planning measures was really high. Almost everyone got full points for that. I was happy to see I would say pretty high number of points scored for multimodal infrastructure. You know, they did well in project readiness and things like that. Safety need and cohort were a little low, but cohort you can't really do anything about anyway. Compared to the resurfacing projects, we had 16 total projects, and almost all the resurfacing projects got the bulk of their points from the pavement condition scores and the planning measures. Everything else was actually fairly low. It's not I'm not, you know, it's not anything to be upset about. It's just kind of how the points shook out. These were the community cohorts in 2019. Just as a reminder, quick here. Again, most of our communities fall in a lower need cohort 1 and 2 versus higher need cohort 3 and 4. These were the projects we had, the number of applications, and how the projects broke down between the two criteria or the two categories, and then how many actually got funded. The communities that are in blue and in bold were the communities that applied for a project in this go around. Again, you can see a lot of cohort 1 and 2 communities applied. And then I'm going to highlight how these communities, just quick, I'm going to run through how they're going to move for the 2020 cohorts. Spring Grove moves to cohort 1. Lakewood, Oakwood Hills, and Lakemore, Oakwood Hills, and Wonder Lake move from cohort 3 to 2. Greenwood moves from cohort 4 to 2. Richmond moves from cohort 4 to 3. So just be, you know, as you can see, we're now only have 2 communities in cohort 3. We have 4 in cohort 4. So if we want to relook at how the community cohorts played out, in our next methodology, we could do that. There's also some concern about population, that smaller communities were getting funding. You can see here, I just kind of broke it out into population groupings of about 5,000. So, and then you can see how many communities applied from each population bracket and how many of those applications were funded. So I'm happy to see that there wasn't, none of our small communities got any funding. They did, which is great to see. Okay, finally, the part you've all been waiting for, our review committees. I just want to remind everyone that our call for projects is going to be from January to March again. Hopefully a similar timeline to the 2020 call for projects, but maybe instead of approving our program in July, we can do it September and give us a little more time to go through it. I know we had some meeting changes that caused our schedule to shift a bit. The program years will be 23 to 27, just so you're aware of that when you're trying to make your programming, your project decisions. So some of you were on the review committee the last time. Our previous methodology was approved in September 2019. Again, like Rick said earlier, we're not totally starting from scratch on this methodology. We're just kind of updating it. So, keep that in mind as you join it. Hopefully won't be quite as much work as it was last time. I have, last year the committee met 3 times. I have a schedule of 4 meetings. This is a little ambitious, I think, but I want to make sure that we're really hitting everything that we can. As a reminder, this is a big part of my job, so I want to make sure that we're doing a good job with it. I kind of established a schedule. This can be, I think the May and July meetings could probably be combined if we wanted to. But this is just kind of a brief look at where my brain was going with the review committees. If you're a council member and you want to be on the review committee, please let me know as soon as possible so we can sometime in December or early January find a date to meet. So that way we can get the rest of the schedule together.
And let me just mention there, if we could have just what I like to have is just a good mix of small and large communities, and on that committee, so you get good representation.
Yeah, I know we already have. I think Spring Grove has already expressed interest. So hopefully, you all will be able to. Spring Grove will be able to join us, as well as anyone else. So please just let me know.
Emily, why don't we, Rick, with your approval, I think maybe the request to join the review committee should run through Rick as the chair.
Okay.
Instead of staff making the decisions who's on the committee, who's not on the committee. Rick, does that sound like a good plan?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. That sounds good to me. So let Rick know. This year, we're also going to have a consultant review committee. We did not have one in our previous. We were talking about doing this if there is interest. Of course, council members, their opinion is weighted a little bit more heavily, being that they are members of the actual council. But I mostly want to kind of get feedback from consultants. A lot of you do apply on behalf of communities. And so I do want to make sure that we are getting some feedback from some of the people who are filling these out. Again, I put 3 meetings. It could be more, it could be less. It's just kind of it's kind of a tentative schedule. So I will say for the consultants, please let me know if you want to be involved. Again, the final methodology will be approved in September. So this will be hopefully a way for me to kind of make sure that the consultants and the council members are on the same page. But that's all I have. So I'll take any questions.
And just also a comment for the full council. The methodology obviously goes to a subcommittee that will make a recommendation to the full committee. So if you're not on the subcommittee, you will certainly have an opportunity to comment and review and have input on the methodology before it's approved.
Yep.
And Emily, once our website is back up and running, this presentation will be posted on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just another comment. Emily, great job. This is a really good presentation. Lots of details, but a good discussion, good presentation to get us started. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, it's I can come up with a methodology. I just don't know that you all would like it. So I hope to see some faces on these committees.
Emily, do you need a motion then to approve this program management policies or?
Nope, it was just for discussion. Yep.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you. To Eric Morimoto regarding the MPI update. Eric?
Yes, thank you, Rick. And we'll see if it works. I'd like to try and share my screen. Emily.
Sure. I might be able to make you a presenter.
Okay, just one quick sec. Okay, hopefully you're all seeing just our standard MPI project matrix. So yeah, thanks for giving me an opportunity to give an update from our Municipal Partnering Initiative group. We do meet every other month, and just as a little bit of a commercial, we're encouraging other agencies and municipalities to join us. We do a lot of different discussions, most important of which is our joint bidding opportunities. So the table you see here is some of our ongoing projects that we have currently either in process with contract extensions that towns that the contractor, if they're able to, can add additional communities in at the joint bid pricing. And then the ones in yellow are contracts that are about to be rebid this winter. So in particular importance, the ones like mowing and landscaping, pavement markings, and sidewalk replacement, sidewalk cutting. We have those projects that are coming up. So if you have interest in those, please reach out to either myself or our Vice Chair, Beth Goronsky at McHenry County DOT, and we can point you in the right direction with the lead agencies for those projects. Other update we have started a little bit of a subcommittee within MPI. We're doing a biweekly call amongst agencies to discuss the ongoing responses and challenges to COVID-19. So if you or any of your staff members are interested in participating, our next call, it's every other week, will be next Tuesday, November 24th at 2:30 p.m. So if you are interested, just let me know and we will send you the link for that. And then our next full MPI meeting, which is held virtually, at least for the time being, will be on December 8th and 1:30 p.m. So again, if you're not already have that invite, let us know and we will add you to that Zoom link. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Any questions for Eric? Great, thank you. Okay, 10 will be Emily, the planning liaison report.
I think I've spoken enough for this meeting. So if anyone has any questions or anything, you can always reach out to me.
Thanks, Emily. Okay, will be our 2021 meeting dates and schedule. Any questions or comments?
I imagine the first one or two will be virtual for now.
Yeah. I would agree. I would expect at least January, and probably I'm not going to be surprised if March. I think we might even have an opportunity to get together. It'll be May. I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes July. So
yeah,
well, let's keep our fingers crossed. Okay, seeing no questions or comments, let's go to other business and announcements. Are there any other announcements or business that needs to come before the committee? Okay, well, I wanted to thank everybody. I'm not going to say 2020 has been a great year. It's not. It's been a very trying and difficult year for everybody. So I hope all of you have a great holiday. Please stay healthy and safe, and let's all hope and pray for a much better 2021. Okay, so seeing no other questions or comments, could I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Holly.
Second, Algonquin.
Second, Algonquin. Okay, any other seeing no questions or comments, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks, Emily and Scott. Good job
Bye,
today.
everyone.
Bye-bye.